How's it going, everyone? It's Carpo here, and as I was walking out to make this video, Manly Hall was playing in here, and he said nobody wants to be friends with the dog that bit him. It was just the line I heard as I was walking in to make this video, and I thought, how appropriate for this, because the subject I was coming in to make a video about was our history and our past and how we hang on to things. Rather, what problems tend to recur over and over, and these tend to be the very problems that we haven't resolved. That was another quote that he said, which inspired me to make this, which was, when you look back, you will forget many travesties and problems, times when you broke your leg, when you were suffering from depression, when you were in extreme pain. And with the proper mindset, these problems will go away. However, there are some that tend to have a residue that clings to your brain that you cannot seem to escape, clings to your very essence, something that keeps bringing it back up. And let's say that you have an issue that needs to be resolved. Let's say, for an example, because I'm going to give two different examples. One, you have an issue in your past with somebody, a person who maybe wronged you or that you wronged, and this issue hasn't been resolved. I have two good friends who wronged me in the past, and I've made amends with them, and therefore I don't think about those things that they did anymore. It doesn't bother me. But this is an issue that can be resolved. You can't change what happened in the past, but you can change your mindset and how you handle it and how you go about dealing with the problem and forgiving people and forgetting. If something, on the other hand, this is the other example, let's just say something bad happened to you in your past that you can't change, such as maybe you suffered for a long time from an addiction, let's say. I'm trying to come up with things off the top of my head, as always, but let's say you suffered from addiction for several years to cocaine, methamphetamines, heroin. It's just, one of the three. And you finally got away from it after 10 years of treating yourself like crap. And then years down the road, you become a different person, you're a better person, but you're still judged because you've damaged your body, the way you look, your lifestyle, the choices that you've made all reflect on you, and people have a hard time letting go of that, especially if they're people who judge you according to how they remember you. One of the most difficult things to get over is the way that people view us, which is most often, based on the experiences that they've had with us. This is how parents tend to have an image of their children the way that they were as teenagers, and teenagers and adults may also have a view of their parents as their parents were when they were kids, or when you were a kid. And if you have a friend who was very annoying, let's say as a kid, one of those guys that's just the annoying guy in the group, I'm sure everybody knows one, and then they grow and mature and become a different person, you still have that little stigma attached to them, and it's really hard to escape. If a person was a thief, if they were a liar, all the different things that people have done, it's hard to get away from that. But when it comes down to things that have actually happened, we have to really stop and ask ourselves if there are things we can control. Sometimes something will be bothering us, not because we need to change the past or because we need to make amends, but because it's a problem that keeps recurring, that we keep doing over and over. And to the dog that bit you thing that I mentioned at the beginning, that's, this is something that keeps people away from things that have previously caused them grief. Let's say that a person has tried cannabis once, and years later, they had a bad experience with it, and years later they find out that it may be good for a condition they have, whatever it may be, and they decide they want to try it again, but it has a stigma attached to it. And they say, oh, I tried that and it didn't work for me, or I didn't enjoy it. Let's say a person went to the carnival when they were young, and they had a really bad experience and got lost, separated from their parents. And they may have had separation anxiety. They may have completely forgot about that whole episode. But here as adults, they don't want to take their kids to the carnival. They never want to go out in public, those kinds of things. There are so many hidden reasons for the way we are that I could sit and talk about it for hours on end and really get no point across other than, yes, we need to work on our past. We need to forgive ourselves. Not just forgive other people, because it's easy to forgive other people. For a lot of people, it's very difficult, but it's much easier to forgive other people, in my opinion, than forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself for the stupid things that you've done. Because all of us have made stupid mistakes. I heard someone, I can't remember who it was or where I heard it, but recently they were saying, hey, all of us made stupid decisions, and we all have to pay for them as adults. And when I think back, I think, I didn't make any stupid decisions. I was the guy who, and I don't really think this, but this was off the top of my head. Well, because I always prided myself as, a teenager and as a young adult on being the guy who avoided the friends that were getting in trouble. If they drove drunk, I didn't want to hang out with them. If they made bad legal decisions or did things that may have caused problems, I just avoided it because I didn't want to get involved in that and get myself in trouble. And at the same time, I also made decisions as to which drugs I would consume and not. Sure, I'm a cannabis smoker. People may think, oh, well, this guy takes kratom and he smokes cannabis and takes these herbs, druggy, and that's the view some people have. Whereas others who are, into herbs, herbalists and whatnot, understand that there's a certain dosage of everything, not just herbs or drugs, but everything in life that's appropriate, that brings you to the state that you're looking to acquire, I guess. And this is where moderation comes in. Moderation being the key. I've tried everything. I mean, there are several substances in the past that I've kind of hit myself over, why would you even get involved in that? But that's a lesson learned, and I moved on past that. So I grew from it. I didn't allow it to consume me. But even back then, I avoided people who were involved in anything that I figured may be damaging long-term to the body or mind, or freedom, as far as going to jail. So, but at the same time, my point here is that while I think that I didn't make bad decisions, if when I really look at my past, I made many bad decisions. I did many stupid things. I chopped down trees in the woods one time. It just popped into my head. My friend Mike and I, who called ourselves hippies, I guess back then we were about 14, 15, but we went down to the state park we used to hang out in, and we brought our hatchets and we would cut down these trees. We only did a few. I think I only really cut one. So it was like 25 years ago. And just to watch it fall, And thinking back, I think we considered ourselves to be connected with the woods. We built a sweat lodge out there in the woods at the same time, did a Native American traditional ceremonial sweat lodge type thing, and we were supposedly into the earth and nature, but I cut down trees, What the hell are you thinking? It's just a stupid thing, and it's in the past, and I've moved on past it. It's just one of many dumb things I've done. Sometimes it's not something you do that's damaging to anybody, whether it's yourself or others, but rather something that could have caused a lot of problems. For example, we used to hop trains all around town. We knew where they'd slow down, so we'd get to the corners and we'd hop on, ride them all the way up to, 10 miles away in the other town where we wanted to hang out with our other friends. And sometimes we would be a little too brutal in our climbing around, and we'd hang around by the couplings and swinging around by one hand, and I remember watching my friend once when we were teaching him how to hop a train, and I showed him I'm running alongside it with the ladder and then jump up, and then my other buddy does it, and we're like, come on, Ben. And he's like, he grabs the ladder and just goes, poof, face plant. I was like, oh God. It was pretty funny. Anyway, I guess I'm just rambling here about the past, but I think it's helping me to kind of come to terms with some of the things, that we did as kids. I was a pretty careful kid in some of the, a lot of the things I did, but I did a lot of dumb things too. And we all do. So back to today, forgive and forget, and that includes yourself. People who play the victim are very difficult to deal with for the rest of us. People who use that as, and play the victim role. It's becoming more well known. Not just victims, but energy vampires. People who suck your energy right out of there. And like I made that video about toxic people, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And then just this morning I noticed there was one of my subscribers, Brethren Rudge, he made a video about toxic people too. And it was really good. He was talking about, being exposed to people and what it does to us, and These kinds of things, many people actually do on purpose. In other words, some of us, because I had somebody ask me, they say, what do you do if your parents are the ones that are toxic? And I was like, that's a difficult one. You're setting history in motion right now. And if you're living with people who endanger your well-being, physically or mentally, spiritually, otherwise, it's very difficult. I also had somebody else ask me, what if your wife is not into as deep of a thinker or a philosopher as you are? I just wanted to run over this. People are totally different. And my wife and I are totally different people. We're totally interested in many of the same things, yet at the same time, I have many wild interests that are in my own head that I don't expect her to be interested in, because that's my path. And I think that this is important to remember, that we're all different, because this allows us to deal with the past better, to realize that not only are our friends different now from each other and different from us, and we should cherish those differences, but they were a different person then than they are now. And you are a different person now than you were then. When you were 15, you were a completely different person. And I've gone through all these philosophies in my mind of what it means to be you. And all that means is your character or being, your demeanor. It's not even your memories or anything like that. It's just all the different, things that you've experienced in your life that led up to this point. So I hope that if there's any message here, it would be that, I have people send me messages for private advice and stuff like that, and I honestly don't consider myself worthy of giving advice. I am only experienced at my life, and when I hear other people saying, hey man, I can give you advice on this. That's kind of how I see it. It's like metaphorically, like there are 1,000 people out there telling you that what's important, how to live, how to get over your past. And you hear that constantly in these new age speakers that say, all you've got to do is just let go of the negativity and let go of the past. And I'm sorry, that's complete bullshit. You don't let go of it. You can't let go of it. You have to deal with it. You can't just tell someone to just process the things that have happened to them and just be done. People go to see psychiatrists for years for these things. Not everybody needs a psychiatrist by any means, but my point being that every person is completely different in the way they deal with things. So I try to consider myself really not experienced at any other life than my own. And my history has led me to who I am now, but I am a completely different person. Not just who I was when I was 15 or 25, but I'm a totally different person than I was at 35. And that was just 5 years ago. When I go back and watch some of my even YouTube videos from 3 years ago, I had a completely different outlook on life. It wasn't a bad outlook. It's not like I did a 180 or anything. Many of my values and beliefs are all the same. It's just that the details have changed. And this is how we move forward. And I think that's what life's all about. It's about growth. And growth means dealing with the past. So that's my message for today, I guess, and hope you all have a wonderful rest of your afternoon or morning.